Hello, everyone. Yes, you have made it to day 4 of our Pet Pain Relief Summit rerun. This is our live Q&A session. And thank you all for sticking in there and watching all the programs and then being with us at this point in time to get your questions answered. At this point, I want to really extend a big thank you to the whole Pet Summits team, all the work they do throughout the year to put these together, getting the emails out to everybody, and especially to Gendy for helping me on these live sessions, getting us up and rolling and being there to put the questions in the box. I really appreciate her time and effort, and she's so sweet and friendly, and they all make it an easy job for us on this side. So thank you all very much. We have our awesome sponsors. So we have Turmeric Life. So you've had the opportunity to listen to Dr. English during these sessions, and hopefully you visited their website and take a look at their products. They've got some really good ones, and they're very helpful in answering questions along the way. And then our other sponsor is Chi Dog, and this is a gently cooked, human grade dog food based on traditional Chinese medicine philosophy. So it's designed to help support different types of conditions that are going on. So especially if you're having acupuncture and you have a veterinarian that you're working with that uses traditional Chinese herbs, and this would be a really good blend and something you can talk to your doctor about too. But visit their site and get some information about it and decide for yourself as well. Alrighty, so that brings us up to today. We had Dr. Katie Woodley, and I was really keen on being able to have her give a program about the problems of pain associated with ear infections, because those poor dogs, especially, we see more of it in dogs than cats that have those chronic otitis, and it goes on and on. They become very head sensitive, and so it's a big concern. And I'm very specific about how I like to have those ears cleaned. And I thought that would be a good program to share with everybody. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And then Julianne Thorne from England, she gave us a program about holistic pain in cats. And Dr. Barbara Royal talked about integrative pain management in her practice. We discussed underwater treadmill and different therapies and things that she does in her practice and products she uses. And then Dr. Janet Gordon Palm was our last presenter, and her program was about postoperative pain, different compounds that can be used to help, and different approaches to that. So I appreciate their time that they invested in the programs and being there for the live talks as well as the uploads on the pre-recorded programs. Alrighty, so I think that brings us up to speed now, and we're ready for those questions. If you've got something that you thought of over the next since yesterday that has to do with any of the other days, or something that came up in your mind today while you were watching any of the sessions, I'm here to help give you some other opinions about it, navigate through it, maybe give you some direction on where you can go and making some better decisions for your dog or cat or whoever it is. Jessica says, I heard fasting and cutting calories by as much as 25% can help body fight inflammation and pain. Okay, if feeding a commercial raw food like solutions, okay, can I add a whole food vitamin and mineral powder? All right, so like Ferapet, I'm not familiar with their product per se. Basically, the raw foods, like, so if you're getting one that's AAFCO balanced, then it would have everything added to it. I know there are some raw diets where it might just have the meat and the veggies and isn't labeled as that. So certainly then that would leave open the opportunity for you to add some more. But from my perspective is you want to make sure that you're putting the right ones in at the right levels. And in order to know what exactly your dog needs, you would need to do the hair tissue mineral analysis testing, because otherwise you may add too much of something extra in that formulation. So I'm not, like I said, real familiar with their particular product lines. Now, if you're talking about adding in something for joints, that's kind of a different category. But if we're looking at a whole food general vitamin mineral replacement of some kind or supplement addition, then we want to make sure we're doing the right things. Otherwise, you can shift those minerals off in the wrong direction and end up with a problem. Thanks for that question. She says, if I'm feeding a bit less, so you're feeding a little bit less volume, so you want to make sure that she still gets enough of the macro and micronutrients. Okay, so it would still be the same thing as that you would want to know for your individual dog that um, she what she needed. So like on a hair mineral analysis test, some of them will have a lot of inflammation and super high sodium. So in some situations, and that's not salt, but if the adrenal glands are really stressed, that sodium is just a reaction that the kidneys are having to do to the adrenal glands producing aldosterone. But in some of those animals that have super high sodium in that condition, we want to add in salt to help the adrenal glands, because as the adrenals get weaker, the body falls into needing salts. And then after that, humans anyway, will crave sweets. So somebody who's like always wanting sweets, a lot of times they're into that lower exhausted adrenal gland state. I can say generally across the board, if you wanted to just do something that was kind of an general, would be calcium, magnesium, and zinc. Most of the animals, most of the dogs, 94% are deficient in zinc, magnesium, and calcium. So those would be safe to do. Anything more than that, we would need to know better what was going on in order to direct you to the right product combination. As far as places that you can get, there are different forms of calcium and magnesium. You have the lactates. I mean, you're not going to ever go wrong with a chelated. That's one that's bound with an amino acid, and so it's going to get into the body easier. It's more like a normal natural combination of whole food type. So if you did any chelated calcium and magnesium, you can do 2 parts calcium, 1 part magnesium. That's safe. Sometimes there's situations where the individual's magnesium is actually much lower than the calcium level, and then we want more magnesium than the calcium. So you could be safe with a 1-to-1, and then you can also get chelated zinc products. So those would be safe ones to utilize. And then you can kind of go by a human weight. So like if your dog's 50 pounds, you would roughly use half of a human dose, 50 to 70. And then if they're smaller, then you get down to a fourth of a human dose. One that's less than 10 pounds, you're looking at like probably an eighth. So if it's a powder, you can measure that out. Otherwise, if it's a tablet, then you're breaking it up into portions that way. And they may or may not, depending on where you're shopping, come all in one product. You may have to buy different ones. Okay, so she does the VDI essential vitamin and mineral test. Okay, but I will also do the hair test. Okay, and yes, last time we tested, he was good with vitamin D and everything else, but a little low in magnesium. And and if you're testing blood, then that's going to be different too than what's happening in the interstitial fluid. Vitamin D is very key in that calcium metabolism and keeping the parathyroid gland working right. So that is very important. And yeah, so if that's a company you're already working with, I know different laboratories report things out a little differently sometimes, but if you're comfortable with them, then that's good. Sometimes, depending on where you live, like in other countries, there'll be some sources for laboratories that are different than what's here in the United States. But in the end, if you're doing the hair analysis testing, then the ratios are still going to indicate the same things. They would have their, just like different labs on blood, sometimes they're a little bit different in their reference ranges. All right, the question from Wendy is, how do you know when to take a 10-year-old female dog to the veterinarian? You have a slight limp. You didn't see anything in the paw originally, but a few days later saw an item in the pad, couldn't remove, so clipped the pad, and now you can't find where it was. Maybe it worked its way out, whatever it was. If it's anything like a thorn or something that's traumatizing, you would expect by a few days to have inflammation, a circular area where it's red, could even have some kind of a discharge. But if there's not a swollen red area anywhere, then it may be that either she, kind of pulled it out herself in licking or chewing at it, or it worked its way out. And sometimes you can have something that could be like a bite or something that like an insect bite or even just a prickle of something from walking around outside. Where I'm at right now, there's all kinds of cactus thorns, so you can get little red sores anytime. Um, yeah. So the other thing you can always do too that works really good when there's something going on with the paw, if you're thinking that you want to try to draw something out, is an Epsom salt soak. So you take fairly warm water, not hot, hot, but fairly warm, and then in a cup of that warm, very warm water, you would dissolve a teaspoon. Usually that works, no more than a tablespoon of Epsom salts, and then you would soak that paw in that, and it can draw. Epsom salts work really good to draw things out of an area, and also if it's oozy to help dry it up. And if you think there's some infection or the nail beds look bad, you can put some betadine in there, and that'll help with cleaning the area too. But if she's limping for some other reason, since she has limited walking and she moves good, but still limps here and there. So if the limping is all on that same paw or leg, I guess the other thing is to determine, is it really at the paw or is it at the carpus or the hock, depending on if it's a front or back leg, and then the joints above that. So another option would be, rather than going to just the traditional veterinarian, unless they do chiropractic, would be to go to a chiropractor and have that assessed, because they will evaluate and examine those joints differently. The way we're trained, uh, and the range of motion examinations that we do is different than what it was like when I was in traditional practice and hadn't learned the chiropractic yet. So that may be where you want to go, is actually to get a chiropractic evaluation, because it could be something else with a joint that needs to be adjusted. And the traditional vet would typically do a cursory exam and then probably put her on some anti-inflammatory. So, which would be a drug compound unless you're going to a holistic practitioner. So other things you could do then for now, the MSM or Boswellia or Arnica, things like that that are safe, that you could give to take some of the inflammation out. But it is nice, especially since it's going on for a few days, to find out really what's causing it so it doesn't get worse. You did Epsom salts. Okay, good. But that's when I could not figure out what front paw you saw it in. Uh-huh. Yeah, so you could soak them both and see if they got better. But now I'm guessing you can see what leg is lame. And you could handle it, like move around a little bit and see if she winces. You have to just be careful as you're moving an area that you're not also moving another zone. And then the reaction to withdraw is coming because you were checking the paw, but you moved the elbow too, and the elbow's where it hurts. So you have to be able to isolate out one area. But that was good that you were working through the things that you can do to help ascertain what it is. I guess the other thing you can do too is, when you're looking to assess it, when they're walking, whichever one's a sore one, they're going to bob up. They're going to go up on it. That'll be the side where their head kind of elevates, unless it's the rear. And then it would be, you would see the pelvis elevate when they put the leg down that's a sore one, because they're pulling the weight off of it and trying to not put as much weight into it. So you can find out which one it is by watching when they move, when their head goes up or if the pelvis goes up, because that would be the side that's the irritation is on. Well, you're very welcome, Jessica. That's a cute picture too, with the Christmas hat on, all ready for the season. That's cute. It's always fun to see all the costumes and the different kinds of holiday videos that come out with the animals. I always like the ones too where the dogs are or watching TV. I just think that's so funny. The other day, I was on the Facebook page and I was reminded of one which a terrier, and he loved to watch the horse races when the horses would come out of the gate and run around. My dad's dog, she used to love to watch Gunsmoke, and she even knew the theme of the music. And when the Gunsmoke would start, she'd run in there. It was Border Collie, and sit there like really close to the TV watching. Shoot, dogs can be so funny. Okay, let's see. Some things about ears we can talk about. Um, in addition to doing the cleaning. So when you're cleaning ears, if it's very inflamed, you don't want to use anything that has alcohol. If you're cleaning them out, you need to really irrigate the ear, like fill it with the solution until you can see the solution come up to the top, and then massage the ear really well. And I'll take cotton balls and I'll stuff it down into the vertical canal. You're not going to get it in there too far. You stuff it in the vertical canal and then massage some more. And if there's a lot of grunge down in that horizontal canal, it'll come when you pull the cotton ball out, it'll be sticking on the bottom of the cotton ball. You get another cotton ball, you do that a few times. And then you can take a Q-tip and clean the areas inside the pinna where you can see the grooves where it's dirty, maybe a little bit, like picking up that extra that's left over. But you want to make sure that you really get the solution in there and you do that good massaging. And that's with some kind of a mix that is designed to help acidify and dry the ear. So a lot of times they will have acetic acid or alcohol. Well, acetic acid, vinegar, you can use those things to acidify the ear. So something that's an acidifier, and then the alcohol for drying. But again, only do that if they're not super inflamed. If they're really inflamed, then you're looking at something that's cooling and calming like aloe vera and calendula or chamomile. I've even had some people at times take the tea bag, the chamomile tea bag, and then saturate that. And it might feel better if it's a little warm to the ear. It might feel better if it's a little cool to the ear, and actually just hold that on the ear and hold that in there for a little while where it's so inflamed, and letting that then draw out. So there's a lot of different things you can do that way for helping. There's so many different ear products out there now to pick from. I was just looking through on the website, looking at things that we could talk about, and the foods are so many different brands, ears, shampoos, so many different companies. So you kind of find ones that you like that fit your philosophy, that your animal responds well to, and then that's the direction you go. I've always had good success with Tropiclean, but they're a company that's like manufactured. Their base is right close to where my place is back in Missouri. So, I mean, they were only like 40 minutes away, their plant. And so I did some projects with them, but I've had really good luck with their products, and they have some ear cleansers and some things for itching. And I think they have a really good quality. In fact, if you look at their label compared to most of the human shampoos, it's better than people shampoo. So finding the ones you like. All right, so Andrea asks about TPLO surgery, the only option for a torn ligament. Okay, their former beagle got a very aggressive brain tumor after surgery, and our new beagle may need the surgery. She is on a turmeric joint supplement. Okay, so if the dog, so this one's a beagle, so they're kind of, small, medium-sized dogs. For the very large dogs, especially when they're super young, doing the TPLO in my years of doing rehab is the best solution for that animal to be able to go back to function and playing where you don't have to worry about it. The other, which was the earlier surgery before TPLO came out, which is um, they'll talk about it using suture line, something like fishing line, and it's an extra capsular technique. Those will develop arthritis really early on, and I don't like that one as an option. I did a lot of those surgeries when that was the only thing we knew how to do. But if the dog is like really three-legged lame, and you've spent some time trying to rehab it otherwise and see if it could strengthen itself, and the body will to some degree. It forms that tibial buttress, that swelling in the middle, medial side there of the knee, to try to stabilize an unstable joint. So there will be some thickening to the knee that's got the problem. If it's totally torn, then generally they're going to tend to never be able to fully utilize that leg, especially if a meniscus involved. And if that little meniscus, a little disc that sits between the femur and the tibia on either side, if that got torn and it flips back and forth, you'll hear a clicking noise, then that's a bigger problem. So your dog is kind of on the, the border there. And then it kind of depends on how old they are, what I would recommend. Like I said, if it's a younger one that's very active and they want to do a whole lot of things, the TPLO is really the best of the surgeries out there for repairing it that way. Otherwise, you can do the rehab. And even with doing the surgery, I recommend the rehab. And I've seen the TPLO in many, many dogs that got old that didn't get cancer. So it's not to say that just because that plate's in there that they're going to have cancer down the road. There are some studies that show there are connections to cancer with those dogs, but a lot of dogs have had the surgery, so they may have gotten it anyway. My corgi had ended up with TPLOs on both their rear legs, and that was before I knew all about the TMA and the fact that 94% of the dog population is low in calcium and magnesium. And if we supplemented that early on, probably the likelihood of them having these the torn cruciates would drop dramatically. I know it would, because that's what's missing that allows that ligament then to become weak. So good on the supplement, but then you can also do other things to strengthen that tissue. So like Standard Process has the Ligaplex 2, that's on the human side, that has the magnesium, canine musculoskeletal support. The Platinum Performance has Orthocon and Orthocon HA, and then just doing calcium and magnesium, that alone can make a difference. All right. Oh, so now we're talking about her paw then. She thought you found it today in the right front paw, but couldn't pull it out. Epsom salt again, then could not find it. Well, it's feasible that it's kind of coming and going. But again, if it's really bad, it should start making a head there. And she didn't like you poking around on her paw. A lot of dogs are that way, like the more intent we get about something, especially if they don't like their toes being handled anyway and don't like their toenails being trimmed, they start getting pretty suspicious that we're going to do something else. Is it easier to pull it out before soaking the paw? If the soaking causes, how like hydrating causes an area to puff up because it's not dehydrated is like a raisin and a grape is hydrated. So from that perspective, it may be that when you soak it, because the paw gets more hydrated, that area becomes then a little more puffy, so to speak, like people's faces. If you live someplace where it's super humid, like Costa Rica and areas like that, you're not going to be as wrinkled and your skin fills in while you're there. Then if you're living in the desert, you tend to be more dehydrated internally and get wrinkles and all that more. So that's the same kind of thing with the paw. So it might be that if you did it prior to, try to find it prior to soaking it, since it seems to disappear on you. And then I'm guessing you're using some tweezers or forceps to try to grab it that way. It should, though, eventually make a head. All right. Laura Leah's back today. The dog injured the groom. Yeah, we talked about that the other day. Her brother just was diagnosed with a collapsed trachea. Okay. Is on Serenia, and they're both on gabapentin. Well, I don't know what the gabapentin has to do with the collapsed trachea. That doesn't fit at all. Serenia, that's kind of a stomach compound thing. So not sure about what all either of those has to do with a collapsed trachea. And I'm guessing that this is a small, oh, she was like a Yorkie, was it? It was a small dog. And so, because usually those are the ones that have the collapsed trachea. But the same thing with the collapsed trachea is that it's a weakness of that cartilage. And that's, again, back to calcium and magnesium. You can do some things to help with that coughing with the collapsed trachea, like mullein tea works really good. The mullein plant works to help with the mucus and and reducing congestion and that kind of thing. So that may be something that could help with that too. Collapsed trachea is an easy diagnosis to go to when they've got that honking cough and they're a little bit older. It's because the cartilage of the trachea is like a C shape, and it should be a nice round C. And then there's a tissue that goes across the other part of it. And as they get older, well, then that C becomes more flattened. And then when they breathe or get active and they're breathing in, then that cartilage is flattening, and then that skin kind of becomes a little flap then that lays down closer on the trachea inside, and then they coughed to open that up. So it can become an ongoing thing depending on how weak the cartilage is. But depending on if this has not been that long, you might be able to strengthen that up with some calcium and magnesium and do the mullion. And there's a lot of different things you can do for the coughing. Yeah. Okay. The ear pain video spoke about Cytopoint. Okay, dog currently has Cytopoint injections for skin itching. What homeopath can be used instead? Yeah, Cytopoint's one of those that's okay short term, but it's not something you want to do long term, long term. Um, Actually, what I use to help, there's a company called Research Nutritionals. It's out of California, and they have a product called Histocalm and another one called Histoquel and Cytoquel. So quell means to quiet it down. So the histamine and the cytokines, and it comes in a capsule, and then we break it down for the animals. But both of those work really, really well to reduce the inflammation in these allergic animals. Also, quercetin is super good. So it comes in homeopathic forms and it comes in, other liquids or capsules or tablets. So I would look at quercetin for sure. And then MSM, that's really good, which would also work for ear pain. MSM would work for that as well. And then for the itching, either the Histoquel or the Cytoquel. And in looking the past few days, like I said, I was online just looking for some things to talk about. I saw some other companies, a dog, um, they were drops, liquid drops that were about the histamine, and that might have been the Prana company. But yeah, there's so many things out there, but you could look for something for if it talked about cytokine suppression, that kind of thing. But the Research Nutritionals company has that Histoquel and Cytoquel, and that works really good. And then the quercetin for sure, or quercetin, some people say it that way. Um, those would be my first go-tos for somebody that are trying to work against the Cytopoint. Now, the other things in regards to Cytopoint is the foods, making sure that the food situation is not creating some of that itching, and then getting that sodium down in the body, that inflammation response. So taurine is really good for helping to bring the inflammation down as well. So that would be something else you could look at doing. Patty has a 15-year-old dog, drinks tons of water, is hot pants, has a big belly. Yep, I'd be thinking hypothyroid plus or minus Cushing's. You took her off turmeric because her TCM is right. Yeah. Um, there are a lot of other things that are good for Cushing's too. Took her off a homeopathic remedy for Cushing's. It said it should be for cold. Yeah. So you can Okay, so most of the cushion-eye dogs, the ones that are really into it, are going to tend to be hot. They pant no matter if they're on a cold floor, they're still panting. And in those Cushings, the alkaline phosphatase is elevated. So one of the things that can also elevate the alkaline phosphatase is low magnesium. So there are things that you can do. Standard Process has their canine adrenal support. That Prana company that I mentioned has a whole Cushing's program in droppers. Um, the panting that, yeah, until you get the alkaline phosphatase level down, she is going to pant. I can tell you once that alkaline phosphatase drops to maybe the 250 range, definitely below 500, but gets closer to 300, 250, that panting will subside. So that's kind of your indicator, even without doing a blood test, that that alkaline phosphatase is coming down. But it's getting a balance of not just the adrenals, it's working with the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the thyroid to bring all that together. But I'd say, without even doing a test, that you got a high likelihood that that is what's going on. What do I do about using turmeric? Well, my acupuncturist, who's from Taiwan, he's Chinese trained. He also lectures at a university. It's not a good because I'm a Vata type, and what's going on with my body with the spleen and all this. It's not beneficial for me. He said if I did like drink a tea that had turmeric in it, I should only do it once a week, no more than twice a week. Would turmeric be okay for me? So it was what you said in your first question there that you had about the turmeric. So depending on for sure what's only what body type and the whole situation, that may not be the best for right now. So there are certainly a lot of other things that you can utilize, like Romania is really good for helping the adrenals. You can use licorice. There's a lot of other things that you could put in with the food that even come just like as spices that you could use for a time being to replace that, but you might need a little more guidance from your traditional Chinese medicine practitioner if you have one of those to help you in navigating through all those different products. Or you do the test, your trial by error, and see if you're using it, how she responds. And if she responds good, then you're okay. And if you see a uptick in the panting and it's making her more hot, then obviously that wouldn't be beneficial. And there are some things that can be warm when it first is eaten and then isn't later, or it could be cool and then it becomes different once it's in the system and it heats up. So the different food factors work and herbs work different ways like that. Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, he's very that's his name's Showtime, and, he's a lover. He likes to know what's going on, and when he rides in the vehicle, he's just, like, up there watching and checking things out and wondering what's going on. Big ol big ol' hound. Will you see that on the hair test, or is it on blood tests? Uh, what is that you're asking about there, Patty? Will you see that on the hair test or in the blood tests? About the inflammation, you'll definitely see on the hair test. The calcium magnesium levels you'll see on the hair test. It also gives us indicators about adrenal gland, pituitary, and thyroid function, as well as how they're doing with food. Like, are they digesting carbohydrates easily, or is that something they shouldn't be on? All of those things show up on the hair test. And they're a bigger indicator and a prognosticator about what was going on, where they're at now, and then able to predict, well, what's the situation going to be if you don't change things, because the hair can find things in the interstitial fluid, it picks it up, that are many more times smaller, minute. So it shows up in that test. It won't show up in a blood test. Also, the blood is that minute of that day. It doesn't give you an average. So the hair test is a little bit more like if you've ever had a diabetic and you do that fructosamine, and it's an average over the past timeline, whether you do it every 3 weeks or once a month or every 6 weeks, it's an average over that time. And that's really more about what the hair is. It's an average of the past 3 months, basically, that we're looking at. So you see what's developed and how things have transitioned in that period of time. You're very welcome. Okay, Wendy fostered her dog before adopting last year. Okay, and they put her on prena sensitive stomach. Yeah, well, and skin, salmon. Oh, stomach and skin. All right. I feed her that. They started her Cytopoint every 4 to 6 weeks. Oh, yeah, that's a long time. You might have built up some liver problems from that. You will get you should look up Cytopoint and what the side effects are of it, and like the considerations for contraindications and that. But over a long term, sometimes a dog's is it's so bad, it's like, well, what are you going to do? But there are other things that you can do. And it may be so. This is one thing too, is that you can do food testing trials and find out what are they sensitive to. I look at it as compatibility. So there's allergy testing, and that's like if you eat this thing, you're going to break out in a rash, or the dog's going to get red and they're going to start itching. It's like it's an allergen. But there are also foods that are just not compatible. So they can't digest it right now with what's going on. Their body system is not, that's not the food for the season. It's not an ingredient that's they're able to utilize or get the good out of right now. It doesn't mean they're allergic to it, but their digestion is not going to be the best. The microbiome will still be affected because of it. And then you can see other effects from this incompatibility. And anytime you're doing food testing, that's really only valid for about 6 months. So even if you're doing allergy sensitivity testing to foods and you've done the traditional where you've done the injections and then you find out you've got this pattern and you're making serums to give them, well, the body is constantly morphing and trying to adapt. So 2 years down the road, it's not the same thing it was 2 years prior to that. So the food testing methods, whatever you do, about 6 months is all I go. I don't usually do it before then because the body is it's too soon, but, 6 months is a good timeline to reevaluate foods, and so you might be at that point, and if she's only been eating this one kind of food, this one kind of makeup, then the microbiome is going to be very limited right now. She may not be compatible for a lot of different things, but certainly you should be able to get her off of a processed food like that, an extruded diet, because she may have built up a sensitivity to some of the things that's actually in that food. It's supposed to be okay. Yeah. A lot of options when it comes to all the different foods. All right, Jessica asks what company I recommend for hair test that have those results. So I use Analytical Research Laboratories. It's out of Phoenix, Arizona. It's actually the earliest of the companies that started doing this testing. Dr. Paul Leck, the founder of Analytical Research Laboratories, was there in the trenches early on. And so he began this company and is like the pioneer. So they've got the results for the longest period of time. And you would, like what you would need to do if your veterinarian doesn't do the hair testing, you can log on to my site and then sign up for a test. And then I send you the forms and everything. And then um, it gets processed, sent to the laboratory, and then I can run you through all that information. I give you a report. You get the graph, the report, and recommendations on what to do based on history. You fill out a nutritional survey for me with a lot of different, 11 different categories on body systems. So I can find out which area system of the body is struggling most from a nutritional perspective. And then we know where to target. Like a lot of GI problems actually starts with the liver. And so we have to look at the liver, but maybe in your individual, it's a stomach situation. And we can tell that based on some of the minerals on the TMA test too. So I use a combination of that hair test along with your input on that survey. And then, yeah, and the history, what's going on. And then we determine what would be the best recommendation. It's really kind of fun. It's like doing if you like puzzles and being a detective, it's a great test. Plus the results that we get out of it. I know of not any one test out there that gives us that much information about the variety of organ systems that the FER TMA testing does. Any recommendations on microbiome testing? Okay, so Wendy, I can tell you that's not my forte. It came along more recently, and I haven't really delved into it. So I always go to Dr. Odette Suter. She would be the person she's kind of like the poop specialist. She's the poop doctor. And so she's the person that I would uh, talk to about that kind of thing. I know there's some different companies out there. There's even some where you don't necessarily have to go through a veterinarian and you can send the samples in and they do the evaluations directly through you without the requirement of having the veterinarian be involved. So I actually have a meeting tomorrow, a phone consult with one of the companies to discuss the importance of doing the TMA testing and how it can give indicators as to whether or not when you're doing fecal transplants and that how successful they're going to be. But I would check in with Dr. Odette Suter on the microbiome testing. I think she's got it down to a fine art. All right, so where Laura Leah lives, there's no holistic vet close. Not much help with anything. Well, so you're welcome. Glad to be able to help. Her two dogs were rescues, 7 years old. Oh, yeah, until now. So seven's not all that old. I think you still got time to get them turned around. Yeah, that would be overwhelming at 74. And having two of them at the same time with something going on. But if they're only seven, that's young enough that you can do a lot of good things at seven still. There's a lot of years ahead. So it's just getting um, on the right track. It also might be helpful for you if you haven't been a part of the senior pet summit, the senior dog pet summit, to do that one sometimes too, because they're getting to that age. But definitely doing a hair test on them, finding out with the fur where their mineral levels are and if there's any toxic metals, that would be a good start to like move into a different level. And otherwise, if finances are really restrained, then you have to try to pull the best information together that you can. So, yeah, well, I wish you a lot of success there. Okay. So 5 strands, you're doing the 5 strands in order to test for food sensitivities. I know they do their testing is not, I mean, it's not like while they use the hair or the fur, it's not the same kind of testing as what the laboratory does for a tissue mineral analysis. They do a different kind. I think they might do some that's like genome telling you what your dog's breeds are. And then they do some others that has to do with, um, yeah, I think they do some food sensitivity testing. The other place you can go to if you want to do the hair TMA is checkpup.com. And that is the company I'm part of the team that put all that together. And so it's a little less expensive and it goes through the same laboratory and all the answers are the things that I would present. And it's my brain been put into a computer system and it spits out the data. So you can go to checkpup.com to do hair tissue mineral analysis from your home. You get the kit, the packet, it gives you all the directions, gets sent to the lab, and then you get a colorful data information giving you indicators about the digestion and the endocrine, and it has the survey thing on there that you fill out online. So that would be another option for all of those of you listening who want to have an avenue to do that. It's a little less expensive, and I think on your first test, there was a coupon running on there too that you could get a discount on it with a coupon. So that would be another area for you to go, a place to go where you can get the fur tissue mineral analysis testing done that has the right kind of test and the right answers. All right, you're very welcome, Wendy. Can you just stop Cytopoint or do you have to wean off it? Um, what I would recommend is that you have something else that you're putting in there. And also the other thing that will help you, and like I would already, if being on it for 2 years, I do some liver support something. And there's nothing that says you have to, like a lot of times with the Cytopoint, they even like lengthen out the injections longer. So you don't necessarily, it's not like a prednisone where you have to wean off of it like you would if you were on steroids for 2 years and there'd have to be a wean off time. So it's not like that, but you definitely want to support the body. So you could have something else that you're going to put in its place so that all of a sudden you don't have this big cytokine rush. And then she becomes so uncomfortable that then you're back to getting more cytopoint injections. Oh, so 5 strand was pretty expensive. I haven't, I'm a little bit familiar with them, obviously, but I haven't looked at what their cost was. I think that the check pup is like maybe 125 for doing the whole. I think it's it might be 199 and there's a $50 coupon or a something, I don't know. Maybe it's 149 with a discount. It's something like that. I think that's what the price of it is. Yeah, we got some really good conversation going. Okay, so uh, talking about ears, I guess I finished my conversation there. The other thing would be the benefit of low-level laser pads put on ears that are really chronic and super, super sore. Um, Pain in cats, I've had really good luck with Boswellia. I've used it in a tablet form and a powder form. You can also get the frankincense essential oils, so that works well in cats. You can use the MSM in cats as well. Also, Trixin syrup. That used to be by Cogent Solutions. I think another company has it now, but Trixin is a hyaluronan product. Cats do really well with that for inflammation and pain. Another one for the cats is the New Zealand Deer Velvet, the cat product. That works really good to get them up and get them going. Um, what's the other one? Uh, oh, shoot. I was thinking of, sometimes too, the colostrum products will work good for the kitty cats too. So depending on the level of inflammation or pain that the cat has, and they can get arthritis not as frequently as we see it in dogs, but cats do. And so those would be some options that you can use. Massage in the cats, again, a warm place for those old ones to lay. Also, keeping litter boxes as they get older, they have more of a difficult time getting in the litter box. And so, having a lower litter box that makes it easier for them to get in and out will avoid them you having to clean up messes other place in the house. And if you're interested in the cats too, I'll just do a little pitch for the Life Extend Method program that we're going to be doing after this. You can sign up for. It'll be a rerun program, but then at the end, there's going to be some Q&A time, a live session, just like this is. And you have time over a 2-week or 4-week, whatever the timeline is, to do the courses. There is one that I did on there that's specifically for cat arthritis, cat pain, and working with the older cats. So it's different than what was in these programs that you've had here today. I enjoy working with cats. They're a whole lot of fun. So you might want to think about signing up for that program too. Alrighty. Yeah, other devices people can use at home. The Beamer is another. If you have a Beamer pad for yourself, then a lot of times animals will enjoy sharing that too. I do like red light therapy. I like the low level laser because it has different frequencies that's being run through it. Some of the red light is just like it doesn't give a variety, and so it doesn't get to different tissue cell layers like the low level lasers can do. My favorite company is the Revitavet, and they did sponsor our senior dog program when we did that one originally. So you can talk to Tom at revitavet.com and let him know that you were on my program and you'll get a discount. So he has some different sizes and styles depending on where the problem is and what your financial situation is. But I like those. I also have, a higher class laser, which makes it be shorter treatment time, but they're much, much more expensive. Not really a home style product. Okay, this is a good question. Wendy's asking about recommendations on what to look for or ask in searching for a holistic vet. She thought about doing that after she'd adopted. Okay. So number one is you can go to the AHVMA, the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association, ahvma.org, and then there will be a place on the site where you can actually find a holistic veterinarian. So you can log on there and then find one that's in your area. Like myself, there are others that do telehealth and that kind of thing. So you might be able to get some help that's not straight in your area that way. So one thing would be the holistic site. Another one, you can go to the acupuncture. So the IVAS, it would be the Acupuncture Association, and if you're looking for that, you can find acupuncturists. You can go to the AVCA doctors. That's the American Veterinary Chiropractic Association. The doctors there and find one of those. And sometimes those will also be on the holistic site, but you could have a holistic veterinarian that focuses on homeopathy and maybe doesn't do the chiropractic. So when you go to the holistic site, there's a lot of different types of holistic practitioners. And it's nice if you can find one that does a bit of all of it, but not everybody does everything. And so to pick out the areas that you're most interested in and maybe go to those associations. And then another thing, if you have a couple that are close to you that you're thinking about, I always recommend to people to like travel there. You can call on the phone and get a sense of how the person talks to you. Do they have a whole lot of rules and regulations? There are unfortunately some holistic practices that go by a holistic title, but yet they're very vaccine oriented. They require all this and that before they would even see you. That would not be one that I would recommend that you go to. But see how they talk on the phone, find out about policies that they have. Um, that kind of what kind of a sense do you get from the receptionist? Because that's going to be a person that you work with a lot. And then I always recommend that you take a trip and then you go there and see what does the place look like. Is it clean? Because if the environment itself is clean and it's very upstat and looks nice, then that's a better indicator of the philosophy of the doctor and what goes on in other parts of the clinic. And then how does it smell? Dogs can smell 10,000 times what we can. So a little bit of a bad odor to us is a huge bad odor to them. See what it smells like. And then when you walk in, how are you treated? What do other people say that are sitting there? Like, are they very complimentary? And find out when you go to the website, do they have a new website? What does the website look like? And then see if there's testimonials on the site, or if they do the Google thing, what kind of comments are on the website. Look at things like that. But this is a big decision to make, and you're going to be investing money and time in your animal's life. So to take the time to go just do a cursory visit and see what it's like there when you don't have an appointment, you just go and check it out. And I think that's really important too. That's a good question. I've talked about that on some of the different podcasts and interviews I've done, but we didn't really address that in this program here, so that was good. All right. This today's gone by pretty fast. We've got about 8 minutes or so before our time's up. If there's anybody else out there that wants to throw a question in the box. I really do appreciate everybody who does these, signs up and sits in and listens and then comes to the Q&A. It's a great community that Pet Summits has created over the years, and you all are great. Wendy wants to know if you can ask for a tour of the facility. Yeah, I would ask for a tour. They may say that like it might not be during surgery hours, like while if they do surgeries. Now, not every holistic, like in my holistic practice, I did the chiropractic, the rehab, physiotherapy, nutrition. I had an acupuncturist that came in. We didn't do surgeries. We didn't board dogs. So you didn't have, I mean, like we boarded ones that were in for rehab, but we didn't have, there wasn't a lot of noise, and there weren't, it wasn't a fearful place. It was very calm and inviting and relaxing for the owners. I'd have people that would fall asleep because we had a fountain that ran. And um, yeah, so there's different types. And then there are some holistic practitioners that still do the surgeries, still do dentals. They might have sick dogs in there or cats so they have like a multi-practice. So they have maybe lots of doctors, and some do the holistic part and other ones do the other. So depending on the type of practice, that there might be a time of day where they say, not this day, not this time, but sure, you can come and have a tour. But we always encouraged people to come and take a tour of the place. We were proud of it, and people would enjoy watching another dog in the underwater treadmill, seeing how they're reacting to it, and look around That's totally okay. And if they don't do that, then maybe there's a reason why that you wouldn't want to have your animal there. You should be able to see and know where they're going to be because they're family. Practices, there's some of them, especially after COVID, that got used to just they take the animal in the back and do things. Well, you're not there, you're not comforting them, you don't see how they're being treated. So I don't, in some clinics do it, legal reasons that they're concerned about the client holding the animal and if they got bit and these kinds of things. But you still should be able to see where they're going to be and what's happening, or at least what the environment is of where they'd be taken. Get off of here. He's thinking time's up because here it's getting close to meal time for them. And so they're wanting to make sure that I'm not going to feed him. Yeah, his tail's wagging. Get down. All righty. Anything else? So you're very welcome, Wendy. I'm glad you felt that this was informative. Wish I could have made all of the live chats. Yeah, but you can watch, there'll be the post. You'll be able to watch them. They'll be up again later, and you'll be able to catch them at another date here shortly, I'm sure. So you wouldn't necessarily have to rewatch all the programs, but you'd be able to catch the live Q&As because we definitely do go over a little bit other things in different depth. And of course, the only person you get to listen to is me, so it's whatever it is, however it comes out. All right. Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, he's a cute one. Okay. Thanks, Jessica. Hmm. All right. Well, yeah, Larly, I hope that does help you. I'm glad that you were here and uh, available for the info. And, you know, you can always, you guys can reach me at my website. So you can go to the avafrick.com or lifeextendmethod.com. That's the website. And then email me. My email address is on there. So you can find me that way. Yep, there you go. There's the short one. The other one links into that. I've had that site for so long. Yvette, you're very welcome. Thanks. You're very welcome, Mama Bear. Mhm. We'll be looking to do some other things in the future, some other connections. Dr. Judy Morgan, I saw she just, if you're on her site, she just came up with some new Christmas recipes. She's got a little booklet you can download. I think it was like $6.99 or something like that. And I was looking at that, and I had an idea that that even looked like if you had somebody that had a dog they liked to cook for, and you kind of wanted to give them something for Christmas, that doing her little download for $6.99, and they'd get that in the mail. However, it comes like it's an email thing or whatever comes from you. But I thought, well, that'd be kind of clever. And if they had that little booklet, and then I think one of them she was showing making some little treats in one of them soft, like muffin kind of containers, but they make them in all different shapes for the holidays, and it has little dog treats and stuff. So, at any rate, Dr. Judy Morgan's site, she's got some Christmas recipes that have come out. So that would be a fun thing for right now. Yes, I love Dr. Judy too. She's boy a busy girl, and her daughter's always working hard. I'm actually doing a program with her on um, it's coming up here pretty soon. I forget exactly what the date is. It's on my calendar, but that might be next week actually. So I've got a program with her that I'm going to be doing. Yep, I think it's next week Thursday. So then y'all all be able to hear that one too. Another topic. All righty, where are we at here? Oh, we're at the end. We've got just 30 seconds left to go. So thank you all very, very much. Thanks again to our sponsors, to Chi Dog and Turmeric Life. And also, we had the little thing about the toothpaste. They were sending out an email. So all of you that have signed up for this program should have gotten the dental care recipe. So anyway, it's been great. I've enjoyed the time with you. And you guys have a really good holiday season. Enjoy the people that you're with. Give all your little critters a kiss on the noggin for Dr. Ava. And for now, as our last time, I'm going to say happy trails.